Hello, this is our Rats with Team 4545 League analyzing the game between Frankly and Fireball. This was played in Team Event 53 in the 5th round. Let's have a look. Yay, it's another Budapest. We've been seeing this quite a bit lately. Let's see what happens this time. Okay, I guess this isn't the gambit line, but Black aims for quick, rapid development of his pieces and seeks to recollect his pawn at this moment here. Okay. And I don't know when this departs book. That's for you guys to figure out because you're studying openings, right? Not me. Okay. A5. You got to learn to use the resources. And if I just show you, you'll forget. You learn by doing. Okay. Now that knight A4 is an extremely interesting move. It leads to something that's going to come up in a few minutes. Let's talk about it for a second. All right. What the objective of usually of a move like that is to try to double up a set of black pawns. But we're accustomed to this pawn on A5 being on A7, and it'll take back the bishop later. And it's actually interesting is that white is going to end up with the double pawns here, and whether that's good or bad, we'll discuss that in a little bit. But before we play that move, let's just talk about the position for a second. What's right and what's wrong with it? Okay, material's even. Position development is even. Each side has two knights out and a bishop. Both sides have castled, and the remainder of the position is symmetrical. The undeveloped pieces, I'll circle them. Queen, bishop, and rook. They match. So essentially, we could say the game is completely even here. Now, arguably, you could assign a plus or minus half a pawn here, depending on what engine would evaluate that. But for practical purposes, this game is dead even. So black has achieved his goal by playing an opening that got him equality. However, before the end game where the draws occur, the gods have placed the middle game, and here we are, just about to enter it. And again, I don't know if this is theory or not. Black, let's compare pieces though. The black knights are slightly better centralized. The white knight on C3 controls D5. That's white square. The black bishop that's developed is a little better than its counterpart, although neither one has a whole lot of scope. So instead of knight A4, I'm not saying it's a good move or a bad move. What else can white try here? Well, he's got to develop his queen side, and generally we will think about a bishop first. Now, one idea here for white is just to play B3. And you say, why B3? Well, it's simple. What you're going to do is you have two possible plans. Okay, number one, you're just going to fianchetto the bishop on B2 so it has a diagonal, okay? That frees the rook, and then you can get the queen into play, right? That's one idea, okay? The other idea behind B3 is that eventually white would like to play B4. Now, you have to prepare for that, but it can be done. Now, let's do what I call fantasy chess. Let's just make some simple moves and see what happens. Okay, well, I guess if black played bishop F5 instead, it would stop rook B1. But I'm just trying to show you my idea, that's all. Okay, now let's bring the queen up here. And knight D5. And now white is prepared for B4. So it's just something to consider. Now, of course, like I said, if white plays rook b1 here, black, well, let's rephrase that. Let's do it this way. Black could play bishop f5 directly, and that stops rook b1. Yeah, I realize that, but at the same time it leads to new variations. White could play e4, opening up this bishop's diagonal, right? But at the same time opening up this bishop's diagonal and gaining a tempo. And this just leads to a myriad of variations that would go beyond the scope of this video, something to think about. Like I say, candidate moves. You make a move, you look at the alternatives. Now, I would say that this line would be perfectly playable for both sides. That's my best guess. You don't have to analyze it all out. When your pieces are coming out, you're fine. Okay, it's when your pieces aren't coming out and you're creating weaknesses, that's when you're not fine. Okay, so, like I said, I just wanted to show some different plans here. What's another plan? White is keeping knights out of d4 and b4, so white could consider queen c2 here, which develops the queen and prevents the black bishop from coming to f5. So this is a perfectly logical move as well, and it still reserves the option of b4. So I'm more inclined to select a developing move rather than a plan of trying to shut off that bishop. Okay, so let's you'll see what happened. Okay, so knight a4, bishop a7, knight d4. Okay, now what's happening here? Why did white move that knight? Maybe he doesn't want an exchange on f3? I don't see the basic logic of moving it a second time in the opening. Let's go back just a second. What's black threatening? Well, knight takes knight. What's that do? Not much. The bishop just retakes, right? And what's black going to do? Play knight e5? The bishop just comes back to e2 again. But meanwhile, it's white's move. White could go about his business with some of my other ideas. Queen c2, right? Now, like I say, fantasy chess. Are you afraid? What are you afraid of here? It seems to me like white's okay here. Now he's got his queen developed, and he's ready for b4 next move. So one of the moves that I was discussing, get a little freedom on the queen side. So I don't know what white was afraid of, but moving a piece a second time in the opening, when you still have undeveloped pieces, here they are. Get them out, okay? The queen rook, queen bishop, they're still undeveloped on both sides. Who's going to move his first? That's a good question. Okay, yay, black wins. He gets his queen bishop developed first. Okay. Can't criticize a developing move. It was really we're not primed to do anything else. We could make an exchange, but I'm not going to evaluate that because it actually happens here quickly. And now white finds the plan that I was suggesting earlier. And good, black makes another developing move. It may not be the best move, we don't know. But it's a developing move, and I'm not going to criticize a developing move. It's hard to really, let's just go back for a second. What's black's plan here? His plan is keep development even. He doesn't really have any concrete strategy. At the moment, white is the only one with a potential break. Okay, and that's with b4, and white's not ready to do that yet. What's black's plan of action? Well, this makes sense. Play queen f6 and then rook ae8 and await developments. Okay, queen g5 with ideas of bishop h3, that can come in, and it actually does in a little bit. So queen f6 is fine, and this is fine. It develops the piece. Okay, now both sides just need to develop their queen rooks, and we're almost there. And as I mentioned, this exchange comes, and it's quite an interesting exchange because it leads to a very interesting strategic imbalance in the position. Now black must do something with his knight. He finds a good square for it. G6 is a great square because it's pressuring both f4 and h4. And at the moment, the white king is kind of naked over on the king side, right? If you divide the line right to the board, right in the center, white's up a queen on one side, black's up a queen on the other. Do you ever think about that? Well, and this piece is ready to come into the queen side, and maybe this one, or to the king side, maybe this one is too, if we can get this pawn to advance. And right now, white does have a pawn advance, and he does. And this is a very double-edged pawn advance. Okay, let's think about it for a second. The pawn was defended, but black actually now has a threat. And I'm not saying it's the greatest threat in the world, but it's a threat to make an imbalance in the position, and it's something that actually happens here in a moment. Bishop takes a4, and surrendering the bishop pair, and in turn giving white doubled pawns. Okay, so how does white deal with that? He stuck that knight out there on the rim, and it looks like a goner if black wants to get rid of it. And how does white save it? Well, does he come back to c3? Well, you got a little problem here. d4 hangs, right? See? So white just goes for the extremely interesting d5. And what this does is it activates two bishops at once. All of a sudden, the black bishop on a7 springs to life, and the white bishop on b2 springs to life. So it's a very, very double-edged move. And it does gain a tempo for the moment. Black has to deal with the threat on his queen, and he finds a very good place to put it. And white has to be extremely careful here. if he tries to save his knight now, I think he runs into trouble. Bishop h3 threatening mate, and then, oh gosh, this knight just does all kinds of nasty things to white. Can come into f4, and there's a pin there. Can come into h4. Could even do that in this position. It can come into f4 or h4. Yeah, and Black's got this tremendous initiative, and I'll let you guys figure out the continuation there. But let's just take one more look, and I'll explain that. Okay, as I said a minute or two back, Black was up a queen on the king side, and he still is. And now all of a sudden, his pieces have sprung to life, and there are threats, and it's because this knight's a little better placed, and this queen is a little better placed now to take advantage of the weaknesses in the white position, especially now that this bishop is now in play. So there's a lot of danger in here for white. So white has to deal with it. He finds, I believe, a very good move. He puts his king in the corner and just stops a lot of this stuff from happening before it happens. Bishop h3 will never be played. Oh, I was saying earlier on g3, I forgot about bishop takes f1. You know me, I can't see one movers. Anyway, so let me just show you back there. Oops, go up. And I said if knight c3, bishop h3, and here I was playing g3. I wasn't even considering taking, but what white does instead is play bishop f3, and now I say knight h4. Wow. You know, this is a problem position for white. G2 it looks like a goner. Wow. Anyway, let's just go on. King h1, and then Black seizes this moment to disrupt the white pawn structure, and this is a good move because it basically what it says is I'm ahead in development. I'm Black. I've got my queen out. You don't. You have 2 weak pawns. Actually, you have 3 weak pawns. And I don't care that you have the bishop pair. My bishop and knight are going to work in this position in my favor. So what Black needs to do is look for some kind of a exchange of the heavy artillery here and get down to an ending and play on those weaknesses. Meanwhile, the Black position really has no weaknesses in the pawn structure. The only theoretically weak pawn is on a5, and I'm not too concerned about that at the moment. Let's go on. Okay, and I think bishop c5 is fine. It immediately puts the bishop on a good square. Ideally, that's a wonderful square for the knight, but that knight just not getting there too easily. You know, it's got to go to e5 and d7 and c5, and then we've shut our bishop in. But the bishop on c5 keeps an eye on the pawn on e3, keeps white honest. White may have to play a pawn down if he's careful or careless. Okay, so let's move on. So I actually think Black is a little better here. And where did white go wrong? Well, I think it all goes back to that 10 knight a4 maneuver, because it ended up costing him double pawns instead of implementing one of the plans I suggested. Now, looking at the clock here, white has 35 minutes. He's not taking his time. So that's one reason why he has a bad game. Black, on the other hand, is taking his time, and he's got the better position here. Okay, so moving on. And b6 is really quite interesting. Objectively, you say, why put it on this color of a bishop? Well, what Black has done here is said, guess what? I'm going to keep my pawn structure intact, and your pawn structure is going to be weak. Now, here's the best way to visualize this. Just take everything off the board in your mind, except for the kings and the pawns. Okay, can you do that? The pawn structure is backed up. You know, nothing's moving on the queen side. But if Black can find a way to get behind those pawns with his king, he's got to win. Now, objectively, if you take everything off the board, the game's a draw, except for the kings, because the Black king just doesn't get there quick enough, I don't think. Maybe a little chance with the king on h1, but I'm not going to analyze that. But the point is, Black is not losing this. So if this goes down to an ending, Black's going to have all the winning chances simply because of those weak pawns. It doesn't matter if it's bishop ending, knight versus bishop ending, rook ending, queen ending. It doesn't matter. Even if white gets down to a dark squared bishop ending, you could say that black has weak pawns. Well, there's only one square to attack that weak pawn, and that's on D8. And even if it falls, what's the follow-up with this guy anchored in? You got to move the bishop back. It's got to come down there. Got to get down there to D8 in the first place, then take it, then come out, get back, and come around again and offer black an exchange. That's a lot of moves that black's got time to do a lot of nasty things to white. So strategically, black has a winning position here. Practically, it's got to be played out. Okay. All right. So G3 gets rid of some of the threats. Okay. And this is good. Rook AE8, finally developing that piece. Okay. And white starts to weaken his position a little bit. And I don't think that's the best. Now, obviously, he doesn't want to play F5 and just drive this knight to a wonderful square, but he could, and maybe. But let me just show you a mistake some of you might make. You might say, "Oh, look, opposite colored bishops. I got to draw." Well, it's nothing farther from the truth. The basic rule of opposite colored bishops when you have at least rooks on the board is the attacking side is a piece ahead. And where's white's attack? It's not there. Where's black's attack? Well, it's not there yet, but it's kind of getting there. Well, black's on the open file. He's attacking a bishop on E2s. The pawn on F5 has tying this rook down to defending it. So, in fact, black's a piece ahead here. He could threaten to break this position open in a heartbeat. Even sacrifice a pawn with H5 and let white take it, just to get another open line. I don't know, but just an idea. Black's still got a good position here. Okay, so let's just back up. So this is where black, right here is where black panicked and let the game, his great advantage disappear. Okay, I think the move he played is okay in a way, but unfortunately it starts giving him weaknesses. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, black has no weaknesses in this position. The only one you could argue is C7. And how's white going to get at it? He's not. Okay? So black has absolutely no weaknesses in this position. So the simple thing to do is black's in control of the E file. Just hang on to it. Okay? Come down here. All right? Queen E3. Now, what's black afraid of? Bishop taking on G6? Oh, that's fine. Let him have it. Okay? Black's still on the open file. What's white gonna do now? Play here? Well, no big deal. We'll just come over there. Okay? And I guess this can go back here. And what's black gonna do? Well, he can play here. We can go for a draw. And a draw is not a bad result. It's something white may want. So let's see. Let's go back. You don't have to play Queen E3. You don't have to go for the draw, but you have other possibilities here. You could play Queen D7. Okay, now what's Queen D7 do? It clears the file for black. Now, like I say, I'm not too worried about bishop takes here, not at all, but we'll just include it. Now let's suppose white plays here looking for a little relief. Well, bang, just take it now. And then, now, look who's on the file. Black's back on it, okay? And boom. And black's much better here. White can't do a thing. Oh yeah, you can go threaten a mate, but we can deal with that, right? It shouldn't be a problem. We don't even have to do that right now. We can stop and give a check first, and that looks pretty lethal. What's white gonna do? Cry? Yeah, he's mated the next move. Unless I'm blind. Isn't this the only way? Oops, checkmate. Okay. So let's okay, 14 minutes and 17 seconds. Oh, we're still not in the right position. Okay, 13:32, 12:40. So he spent about 2 minutes on the move. Okay, but fundamentally, okay, what's F5 do that's wrong? Okay, what does it do that's wrong? Well, what does it do that's right? Let's evaluate that first. First off, I guess one idea is to prevent bishop takes G6. Maybe that's it, but I explained that black has nothing to fear with that. The next thing it does is it controls E4. Well, does it? Yeah, but what's going to join the party? Black's not putting a queen or a rook on e4. It's going to get eaten by that bishop on d3. So that means that leaves the knight. How's the knight going to get there? Wow. Knight to f8. Well, we got to clear the rook. Then to d7 and f6 and e4. By the time we get it to f6, White may just say, you're not going there, and take it off. Or maybe g6 is going to, or f6 is going to hang because it can't be protected by g6. So the other fundamental thing wrong with f5 is the square, e6. Why weaken it? Okay? Why weaken that square? It's not necessary. And White's going to actually get into that square in a matter of just a few moves. The other thing it does is, now, what's guarding this pawn? Well, it's being attacked. What's guarding a rook? So White's got a cheap attack here. He's using a little minor piece to tie down a rook. And as I said, this knight, the only other way to defend it is with a pawn, and that knight's in the way, right? Let me just back up so I get the arrows and circles a little better. This is under attack by White, defended by this, right? And if Black wants to defend it with a pawn, he's got to get his knight out of the way, and the knight doesn't have any square other than h8 at the moment, right? And if he does play g6, who knows? Maybe that long diagonal becomes very, 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 very dangerous for White, right? We don't know. Depends on how it continues. So everything was wrong with f5. It just threw the entire advantage away. Queen e3 gets at least a draw by repetition in a couple of moves. Queen d7 keeps the winning chances alive, and of course losing chances. But you don't want to just make weakening moves like this. Okay, now here we go again. Now he plays the right move, a move too late. But now look what's happened. White has moved his queen off the back rank to connect the rooks to get to the e-file, and with a gain of time to attack the pawn on f5. So now suddenly Black is defending this position when he could have been attacking on this position. Just go down to queen to e3 and you're attacking. What do you want to defend? Okay, got to think these things out. Candidate moves. Anytime you're making a weakening move that weakens squares, ask yourself, do I have a better move? What's my other candidate move? Because weakening moves just can't be good in the long run. Unless your opponent is weak, very weak, and in time trouble and capable of making mistakes. But you don't want to count on that. What if he decides this is the day he's going to play his best game of chess, and it's against you? So you don't want to play weaker moves. Okay. So now here, White's on the e-file. I just showed Black could have been doubled on there. Now White's equalized on the e-file. So the game looks about even now. This f5 problem and the e6 problem squares are a problem for Black. Okay. So this is fine. This gets some liquidation, but unfortunately Black has to make another error here, and there it is. Okay. Well, actually, maybe it's not another error. Let's see. I was thinking play the rook to e8, but I forgot about this for a second. See? Okay, so taking on e8 is a problem that Black is going to have to deal with. Wow. That f5 problem, it's just sticking it out there to be lost. You know, I guess it's wow. Black's going to have to give up that pawn, and that's just going to lead to a lost game. Yeah, I missed that. Okay. Yeah, knight e7 is to defend the pawn. You know, now Black, three of his 4 pieces are defending one pawn. What are they attacking? Well, we're attacking this pawn over here. That's it. We're not really attacking on d5 because it's protected. Okay, so now White gets access to a square that he didn't have just a couple of moves ago. So things can't be bad for Black here. I mean for White. And desperately looking for a little bit of relief. And now the logical continuation, double up with a gain of time. And Black defends. Better to go there than to step into a pin with rook e8. And here comes an incredible series of events here. This was a mistake. Let me go back. Well, actually, no, let me just go forward. White missed an immediate win right here. See if you can find it. Okay. White to play and do the best he can. Pause the video. Okay, you back? Bishop b5 did it. Immediate pressure on the queen. Where's the queen going to go? If you put it on the back rank, it's going to get lost, right? So let's try c7. So then we do this anyway, right? Now you got to check this way, and there's a big oops. This one, and it looks like a forced mate. So white missed a forced mate. Okay, and what could have black have done? Let's consider it. I guess anything is better than that. What was white threatening? Looks he's threatening the pawn on f5, maybe. I don't know. These moves just look shaky, but maybe I'll let black tell me what he thought. One of these moves. But like I say, any move that just allows a forced mate or loss of the queen can't be good. So anyway, white comes up with this move instead, and excuse me, black missed his best defense here, but I think white's better still. The best defense is you got to cover e8. E8 is a major thorn, but you're also walking into a few problems here too. Well, maybe not. Okay, not necessarily. Okay, was he afraid of this move? Well, black actually has a reply to that. Do you see it? Black to play and do the best he can. Pause the video. Okay, queen check. I think that's the move, yeah. Now what are you going to do? Queen g2? Whoops. Okay, queen g2. And now black to play and do the best he can. How do you get out of this mess? Actually, you know what? I made a mistake. I know what it was. Wait. What am I doing wrong here? Okay, I'm suggesting knight c7 here, and I'm saying this move, okay? What's black's move? It is... I'm confusing the lines. Maybe it was queen c6 check. Oh no, yeah, of course it was. Okay, I'm just confusing this in another line. Now you take the queen, and then you break the pin. And suddenly, black is alive. He's surviving this. He may not be able to win. It doesn't have the great advantage he did earlier, but black has survived. And I'll let the players look at this and tell us more, okay? But black has survived, and even if the queens don't come off, if white tries something else, d5 is coming, and covering e8 just lets black survive here. And I think actually maybe black's even better now, but I'll let the players tell us. It's an interesting position. Okay, so let's see what happened. Okay, so queen c6, I mean, it looks natural, and honestly, one thing too, look at the time. He's got 2 minutes and 6 seconds. When he's done, he has 59 seconds, meaning he let his clock run down to 14 seconds. You can't fault a move like this in a way, and when you're short of time, and quite short of time too, because who knows, you've got threats. You've got knight checks here, knight discover check, right? And all kinds of other places to put that knight, including c7 and c3. It's white could go wrong here if he's not careful, but he's got 2 minutes and 41 seconds, and he spends most of that time, close to 2 minutes, finding a good place to put his queen and break the pins. And I do believe black is lost now, unfortunately, because he doesn't have the resource of the correct resource to block that diagonal of pawn to d5, because not only is his pawn pinned, it can't move because his knight has occupied that square. So essentially white was winning, and this looks desperation, just gives up the queen, but there was really no other move. Black's lost. It's not just nothing he can do. This knight is under attack. It's going to be taken, and there's nothing black can do. And there goes the queen. It's just a matter of a couple more moves, and black decides he doesn't want to play this anymore. He's down a queen. Unfortunate, but f5. That was the mistake. So, sometimes you can play weakening moves because there'll be other things involved that can allow these things to allow you to play these moves, but there really wasn't enough justification for it. Black just didn't have enough of an initiative to try for that move. Okay? So I think it's a pretty instructive game. It shows again how to play versus players at this level. If you're a little bit below it and trying to move up to this level, it gives you an idea how these players play. They don't make as many mistakes as maybe you think. There's just not that many blunders, but there's a few in there that if you're careful, you can find a good plan against and beat these guys. Because the whole idea is you want to get better, and with all the videos I do, you see a wide range of ratings and get to see how not only individual players play, but how certain rating classes play. And then if it's a little bit above your class, great. You learn from this, then you'll learn more when you play them, because now you're thinking and you're responding to the moves that they're presenting to you. Okay? All right. This was an interesting game. I want to thank everyone for their time to take a look at it, and look forward to doing this again real soon. And one more note. Originally, these videos were only meant to be 15 minutes, but I'm really getting intrigued with them, and they're going longer now. That's just the way it is. If you don't like it, you don't want to learn chess, because you're going to learn chess if you watch my videos. Okay, take care.